So beginning by settling in, allowing our attention to gather in this place and in this moment. Perhaps looking around the room and grounding ourselves. And if you're so inclined, gently closing your eyes. Feeling the support of the surface you're sitting on. Perhaps grounding yourself a little bit on that surface. And then softening all over. Softening the body. Softening the heart. Softening the mind. Allowing the mind and body to be malleable, to be open to possibilities. And noticing your breath. Noticing where the in-breath shows up in your body and where the out-breath shows up. Bringing to mind one of the benefits that you've experienced as a result of your mindfulness and meditation practice. Perhaps it's something like increased focus, an overall softening in your attitude toward life, an enhanced capacity for kindness, more readily finding space after triggered, or many other things. Selecting a very specific benefit and recalling a recent experience when that benefit showed up. Putting yourself back in that experience, noting who was present, where you were, what was happening. Allowing the event to replay in your mind. And noticing whatever emotions are present, are arising as you replay this experience. And also noticing what sensations are present in your body. Doing a brief body scan. And taking your attention to that physical sensation and gently resting it there. And linking the sensation and the emotion with the benefit. And simply savoring all three. Gently holding your attention on all three and savoring this experience. And as you savor the experience of this benefit and its accompanying emotion and sensations, gently inquire, why is this benefit important to me? Why does this benefit matter in my life? How is it helping me? How is it helping others? As we savor, or as we replay and savor and investigate, we're helping wire together securely those neurons that are producing this benefit, that combination of neurons. We're taking advantage of neuroplasticity. And simply resting with this for another few moments. Letting it really settle in. When I posed a question to myself about benefits, I think what really stood out for me was how much less frequently I am triggered adversely, negatively, and how much more softening and allowing there is around it. As is the case with so many of us, regardless of what was actually happening in my life, I was so often, and still am, feeling threatened by anything that seemed to challenge my sense of self-worth. whether I was accomplishing enough, being good enough, being well enough behaved, all of those things that come up for us as humans. And for many years, when I was getting the sense that I was being my behavior or attitudes or just being me was being disapproved of, it triggered me. And what mindfulness has done is help me with the body awareness of recognizing that being triggered shows up first in the body. And for me, it usually shows up in the chest. Sometimes it feels like outside-in pressure, sometimes inside-out pressure. But I suspect that one of the reasons it shows up in the chest is that when I'm feeling disapproved of, there's a disconnection going on with me. I'm feeling disconnected from those around me, from the experience around me. And that's disconnecting in our lives is a heart issue, as we've explored so often here. And so that's how it seems to work for me. And alternatively, by becoming so aware of how that being triggered, being disapproved of, shows up in my body, I'm able to take my attention there. And when I concentrate my attention on what I'm feeling in my chest, then I don't keep repeating to myself the ways that I feel disapproved of, what somebody else has said, what I'm feeling internally. All that chatter disappears. And the experience in my chest, that triggering, only lasts for a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes, and it goes away. And once that triggering, that tension in my chest, that cracking, that pounding goes away, then I feel the space. And now I can make some choices. So just last evening, for several reasons, I was feeling badly yesterday. I kind of felt sick all day. I feel fine today, but I was feeling that yesterday. And I sort of plowed through the day doing the things that were on my to-do list. But by 6 o'clock last night, I was pretty exhausted and feeling vulnerable and worn out. And Kay asked me a question that turned out to be a really useful question for her to ask, but I couldn't cope with it in the moment because of how I was feeling. And I could feel it in my body instantly. And I simply said, I really can't deal with this right now. I'm such a mess. I'm going to get up and go in the other room and let me know when you're ready to have dinner, and then I'll come back. And it was a no harm, no foul kind of situation. I came in here, sat for a few minutes. Kay called and said, I'm ready to have dinner. And I eventually took to heart her suggestion, her question, and it made a big difference. I ended up going on a little different path that I felt really good about, but I couldn't cope with it in the moment because of all this stuff that was happening that was beyond my control. But what was within my control was my ability to recognize what was happening in my body at that moment, to recognize that I was feeling disapproved of, to recognize that I was feeling triggered, and to do something different. In this case, physically, literally, to find a spaciousness. And then everything changed. It's a couple of mantras that also come up for me in those situations are beyond my control. So often we're triggered by things that are beyond our control. And simply saying that, beyond my control, gives me space. Or another mantra that I use often is, this is not mine to do. I may initially feel that way, but upon reflection, I realize this is not mine to do, and I can let it go. And a third mantra is, I say to myself, you know what? In the grand scheme of things, this doesn't matter much at all. I thought it was pretty big, but it doesn't matter much at all. So those are ways that things have changed for me. And just sitting here sharing this with you, and you're being gracious enough to allow me to share this, is a way of savoring it, is a way of reinforcing the practices, is a way of getting those neurons to keep wiring together and securing that connection. So these are the ways that we sustain the benefits. We name them, we experience them emotionally and physically, we savor them, we investigate why they matter to us, and we allow neuroplasticity to do its magic, rewiring our brains.